Went back to training camp when you guys were visualizing nights when you, Klay, Wiggs, Jordan would all be productive on offense. This is what you were visualizing, because it really hadn't happened where all four of you guys were doing something like this in a game this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just making adjustments based on how we're being defended. Obviously, Klay, turning the volume up in terms of his shooting and decision-making on offense. Jordan, just being aggressive. That's all we want him to do, be aggressive. We'll live with, the results of him putting pressure on the defense. Obviously, Wiggs shooting the ball at a high level. I think we have a little bit more clarity on how we connect defense and offense, and then everybody starts to get shots, and the flow of the game's a lot better. So it all goes together in terms of just making the right simple play, and then usually the ball's gonna find the open guy, and we have a lot of confidence in whoever that is.
We've talked in the past 20 games has kind of been like that benchmark where you can start not making conclusive thoughts about teams, but it's when you can start kind of seeing what teams are. Do you think that that's still the case, and just what's your assessment of your team 20 games in?
I wish we could play all our games at Chase Center. No, but I think it's kind of, we know what we can't do in terms of the first, 8 road games, and just that pocket of the season where we just couldn't put a string of games together. We have a great opportunity coming up on the road. These 2 games coming up. But rotations seem a little bit more consistent on a nightly basis. I think, again, it's all about guys understanding their roles, what they're asked to do, and then getting reps to do those things. And, we go 10 deep right now for the most part, and everybody's filling a specific role and playing hard and playing smart. And yes and no. I think I'm talking around it. Yes and no. There's 20 games. We're glad to be 500 and looking to try to continue to build momentum. But these last 5-6 games have felt a lot better. And we want to kind of bottle that up and keep doing it.
Talk about the rotations. Obviously, Steve made the move to Draymond with that second unit, which means you and him aren't playing as much together. You're playing some, but you're not playing as much. Is that a little different for you? And at this point, are you maybe you're more comfortable with it? Both of you are more comfortable with it maybe in the past because you're so established, or because you can control the flow, maybe even if one of you was out of the game?
Yeah, I think we both feel comfortable. He talked about it last game. He understands what he needs to do and how he needs to play to manage those second unit minutes and give us a good run when I'm on the bench. And then I know certain play calls to go to keep things as simple as possible, knowing that the chaotic offense that we usually run when he's out there, you can still run it, but you got to kind of read the flow of the game, into that first quarter, into the third quarter, just to understand how we can just create good shots. Tonight, almost dumbed it down to just being a pick and roll type, offense when he's off the floor, which is fine because we can still create enough. And Jermichael had some great possessions in the post on rolls, or swinging it and causing chaos that way off of a pick and roll. So we'll figure that out as we go. But if ball in my hands, I just got to be able to make those adjustments and understand when he's out there and when he's not. There is a little difference for sure.
Steph, how would you assess Draymond's play first 20 games?
He's been amazing. Body looks good. He's flying up and down the court. He's finding his voice in terms of being able to, whoever he's out there, kind of be a quarterback on defense like he usually is. And you can see him even offensively be a lot more aggressive, finishing at the rim, shooting shots when he's open, just trying to make the right play. I think the way he's moving and just the way he's flying up and down the court, pushing in transition and all that, that's always a good sign in terms of, where he's at, to be able to be a defensive presence that he is and still push the pace like that, because nobody can really do it like him.
You joked about, wish every game was at Chase Center, and clearly you've been tremendous at Chase. But this team has taken a lot of pride, obviously, in winning games on the road, obviously in the postseason, but even before that, in the regular season. How much of your pride is a little wounded by what's happened to start the season? How much are you determined to make sure that turns around?
I mean, it's still been a weird feeling only winning one game and not, taking advantage of certain games we felt like we should have won. But we had a lot of other issues we were dealing with at the same time in terms of, rotations, who's playing on a nightly basis, how coach was kind of managing that. So I think, these next however many, this trip and then the East Coast trip would be a great kind of test to see where we are. I don't think anybody's in their feelings about the record. It's just, you understand, if we're going to climb up the standings towards the halfway mark of the season, we're going to have to start winning some road games and put together a much better effort. But I feel like what we've done the last, again, 5 or 6 games, and understand again who's playing, certain minutes and how the flow of the game's going, that give us a better chance when things can kind of get a little scattered on the road, and you got to be able to settle yourself down. So that'll help for sure.
Steve said pregame that you told him you've gained 15 pounds since your unanimous MVP season. Is that the number?
Yeah.
I'm sure that wasn't a one-year thing. That was a gradual gain, but just
a lot of good Aisha's cooking right there.
How is that? We've talked to you about this previously, but how has that really kind of helped your game? Just the added muscle.
Just taking on, physical defenses, and even defensively being able to take, certain blows, guard bigger guys, and not get knocked around. And you, with the added strength, I've kept my endurance where it goes hand in hand. So even 14 years in playing 34, 35, hard minutes, I feel great and can recover pretty quickly, knowing I'm not getting bumped and bruised like I used to. So it helps all the way around and just gives you a lot more confidence to get in the fight. Every play that you're out there.
Have you looked at kind of before and after type pictures? I mean, do you?
I don't have too much obsession over it. It's just knowing I've really invested in that part of the game, and that's going to help me, for the longevity part of what I want to do in this league, and hopefully keep playing at a very high level for a long time.
This was a while ago. Speaking about that, in the Phoenix game, you were matched up against Ayton, of all people, and in the post, you remember that play, and he didn't go through you. He didn't go. He kind of faded away a little bit. Do you remember that? And do you take some pride in that's happening now? Those kind of plays are happening.
Yeah, I just hopefully can make my presence felt. I don't know if he felt intimidated at all, but yeah. Try to back me down if you want to. Let's go.
Hey, Steph, do you feel like the third quarter kind of illustrated how Klay's mindset has changed the past few games, and he didn't try to force some shots? He kind of just let it come to him?
Yeah, I mean, the early part of the game, that's why I said the way teams are guarding us, especially these last 3 games, he's been hot. They're not leaving his body, and so it's kind of hard to get clean looks when they're just going to try to take his 3 away. But over the course of the game, if he keeps making the right play, keeps staying patient, the game's going to come back to him. And then Klay's confidence never wavers in terms of being able to knock down shots. I think he was 1 for 5 or something in the first half. That's not a lot of attempts, but he still stayed in it mentally and was ready for whenever the game went his way. And that's huge, just to stay locked in and not press and force and think, not getting that many attempts in the first half is kind of going to stay that way the rest of the game. He stayed ready, and it helps us so much when he's locked in like that.